Hey everybody, it's Andy Timmons speaking to you from McKinney, Texas. Thanks for checking out BackstageAxxess.com.
Hi, this is KRIS with Backstage Access, and we are pleased to have with us today guitarist Andy Timmons. Welcome, Andy. Now, your new record, Theme from a Perfect World, was just released last week. Can you tell us a little bit about the record?
Yeah, it's maybe the fourth official Andy Timmons Band release, but the Andy Timmons Band formed in 1988, and even when I've had just Andy Timmons records, it's kind of like when it's a Tom Petty record or a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It's still kind of the same people,
right?
So we've been playing music together for many, many years, and so I think it's just a logical kind of continuation of what we started off to do back then, which was just we were basically a cover band playing our favorite instrumental music and some vocal stuff from the 60s and 70s. So we're just still fans of that particular era of music. And I think it's, even though we're a modern power trio instrumental group, it's all those influences are very much on our sleeve. Not only musically but sonically, the way the record was recorded, very very much with a lot of vintage analog gear.
Okay.
As analog as we can be in the digital world.
Now, all the tracks on this record are instrumentals. So, being a guitarist, is it easier for you to approach it without the vocal tracks and lyrics in there?
Well, when it gets to it, because I do write and I write vocal material as well, and there's been plenty of vocal stuff on earlier records.
Right.
But as I've grown on my instrument, I've been playing guitar for about 49 years now. So the more level of expression I'm able to achieve, I just think that when I write music, it's not always specific events inspired, but there is a handful of tunes on the record that are very specific to particular emotions or events in my life or events in other people's lives that are close to me. I enjoy not being limited by a very finite language. There's only so many words we have to describe certain whatever events it might be. And I think that the music not having that limitation can maybe just go a bit deeper.
Right.
And it's also nice that, the music, certain songs will have a very specific meaning for me as the writer and the one communicating through that music. But that's the beauty of the instrumental music, is it can mean anything to every listener.
Right.
This one song might be about my dearly beloved pet cat that passed away, which there is a song on there that has specifically that emotion in it. But it could mean some loss for anybody in your life, a family member or a friend, or any particular sad emotion you might need to try to to feel in that moment. That's what music is great for. It gives you that safe place to, whether it's to energize you or make you feel great, or to express some of the sadness that we all have. This is all it's all in there. It's nice to have a place to get that out.
Right. Now, what about your songwriting process for this album? Do you have a certain approach that you do, or do you write on the road? How does that work?
The best songs happen when I have no control over it.
Right.
There's a song called The Next Voice You Hear, which there's a fan of ours in Japan named Takeshi. We'd met several times. He's confined to a wheelchair. He's always on a respirator. He was obviously born with lots of challenges, but a big music fan and bright light of a person. But I got an email sometime late last year that he was in a coma and they didn't expect him to make it. And this friend of mine who, is a liaison between the two of us for us to communicate, asked if I would send a message. Please send a message to Takeshi. He's not going to make it. And instead of that, I decided I was inspired to write a piece of music, and that's the song "The Next Voice You Hear." And I recorded this very quick demo in my office where I'm sitting right now, and immediately sent it to my friends, and they took the song to Takeshi. I mean, he's in a coma, he's in the hospital. They don't expect him to live. They spoke to him, they played him this music, and tears formed in his eyes, and he woke up.
Wow.
He came through, and he's at home now. He's he's not out of the woods, but that was a very humbling thing to hear from the family to say. Who knows? Could it be a coincidence? Absolutely. But
right.
I'm sure all of us have been in that hospital room, standing next to somebody. They're not conscious, and you're speaking. You're hoping they hear you. But I think that's obvious proof that they're hearing. And somehow whether the music or the idea of the music struck something deep within Takeshi, and he said something clicked, man. And it's I get emotional thinking about it.
Yes, absolutely. That is.
You can't imagine. So a lot of times that kind of gift giving is very selfish. You're doing it for you as much as the other person. The feeling that it'll give you doing something nice for somebody else. That's kind of strange to say, but it is kind of selfish. It's you're wanting good for somebody else, but it makes you feel good to do that.
Right.
And in that moment, I had nothing else I could do. What can I possibly do to, you can't give this person anything.
Right.
But just writing the music is, it was a way for me to get out the emotion. I'm not going to see this person ever again. And the next voice you hear was literally a reference to a movie I saw when I was a little kid, late night sleeping in my mother's bedroom. I might have been 6 or 7, but I remember this movie, late night black and white television, called The Next Voice You Hear. It was about God coming back to Earth, Jesus, or whatever you want to call it, speaking to people through their radios. So stay tuned, because the next voice you hear is this important message from
wow.
So that was my imagination. I mean, I just thought if there is a God or a higher spiritual being, which I believe there is, that may be the next voice he hears. But again, he's still with us, man, and it's an amazing. So there's songs on the record that are quite powerful as far as why they were written or what they were written in response to. And there's some songs on there that it was just, this is a cool piece of music. There's that song that's called Lift Us Up, and then Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Right.
I had that riff, and we tour a lot in Europe, and there's certain countries like Italy or Spain where, as the crowd gets ramped up through the night in between songs, they're likely to burst into like a football chant, like a soccer chant, you might call it.
Okay.
The little melodies that they get into in these big soccer matches over there. And I kind of imagine that melody being something that they might sing in that fashion. So some things are just pure energy and pure musical exploration, and some are very tied to a specific event or emotion. But there's no rhyme or reason, and there's no place where it's more likely to happen. Of course, I do write, most of my music on the guitar, but I sing melodies all the time. There's always something creative musically happening in my mind. So
right.
Sometimes I imagine sections of music, and I have to do a voice memo record or get to a guitar to apply it and try to get it out, because I'll forget it. 10 minutes later, if I don't document it, it'll be gone.
Now, on this record, you also co-produced it yourself and Mike. Do you enjoy that whole production aspect of making a record?
Well, yes, I do. And what made it immensely more enjoyable on this particular record was it was the first time that I kind of, I call myself co-producer on this record only because Mike insisted on it. I really considered him the producer on this record. Okay. And that was an important difference, because I've always been, the Andy Timmons band. I was always kind of the one, I don't want to say in control, because it is a band. We do, play and make the decisions together, but it was always kind of up to me, ultimately, direction or production, that type of thing. I would have this vision, but the closer and the more Mike and I have worked together in the recording studio. He now has his own recording studio, and it started with the Resolution record, where he engineered all those guitar tracks, but everything was still being mixed and co-produced with Rob Wexler, a longtime recording engineer here in McKinney. But this one, Mike, did all the recording, and I really kind of let the reins go significantly. I just have complete respect for Mike, and it was enjoyable for me to be taken in different directions that got me out of my comfort zone. I might have a specific vision, because I am the primary primary writer, that, here's how I think it should sound. But Mike said, let's try this other guitar. Or what about this amp? Or what if we, So we did share in the production, but in my mind, it was like, all right, Mike is in charge here, and I'm going to enjoy the process. And I think we got a much stronger record because of it.
Right.
Just again, having somebody that I respect enough to let go like that after many years of feeling like I had to obsess over every detail and make that decision. But how that deepens the bond of somebody that I've been working with since 1988.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that we're only stronger as friends and bandmates. And again, I think it's a much stronger record for that.
Absolutely. Now, what about the drummers on the record? Because you used two different drummers this time out. How did that happen to come about?
It's always it's been that way on almost all my records over the years, whether it's just Andy Timmons or Andy Timmons' band. Mitch Marine, who's on 5 songs, he is the original Andy Timmons band drummer. So he and I and Mike Dane formed the band in 1988. And it was just, we would do bits of work here and there. Then I got the gig in Danger. But we stayed together through, no matter what each of us were doing, individually and with other bands. He plays with Dwight Yoakam now for many years.
Okay.
Mike Dane has a couple of his own bands. But, when we get together, it's the Andy Timmons band. So we started what became the new record back at the same time we recorded the Sgt. Pepper cover record that we did.
Okay.
That kind of got finished first and had a life of its own. And it just kind of took us a while to get back to working on our original material. And in the interim, Rob Afsharian had become more of our live touring drummer because Mitch was so busy with Dwight. And so he ended up recording a bunch with us, and so I have the blessing of having two of my favorite drummers in the world in the band. So
awesome.
We have an extended drum family. We have also Dan Wojciechowski, who played with me for years with Olivia Newton-John, but is now Peter Frampton's drummer for like the last 10 years.
Okay.
So he's very much, he played some percussion on the record too, so we've got the whole family on there too.
Very nice, very nice. Now you guys are going to be out on the road this week here in the States, so can you tell us a little bit about the tour and what we can expect?
Sure. No, we start tomorrow actually. Today is interview and pack day. So we start tomorrow in Memphis and then head to Nashville, and Charlotte's coming up this weekend.
Right.
So we have it's a relatively brief tour. We've got 3 weeks here in the U.S. We're heading. We played our CD release debut here in Dallas at the Granada Theater on Saturday night, and that was our warm up for the tour. So we leave early in the morning and head for Memphis, and so we culminate with 2 nights at the Iridium, which has been our home in New York City. And then we have on the tour, we're going to, of course, be playing, quite a bit of the new record, but, fans of our old music won't be disappointed. We're going to do as much of the old stuff that they might want to hear. And we have a great band named the Travis Larson Band opening up, who's a longtime guitar buddy of mine. And his band is also a trio, and they tend to be more kind of Dixie Dregs, kind of little prog influence. Really, really nice band. So we'll be traveling together, and just looking forward to playing. And we love to hang out and meet everybody at the shows. We're often found mingling about before the show and, of course, after. So we can't wait to play the new music for folks and to meet everybody. And then we have a brief break at the end of October. Then we go to Southeast Asia. We've got another couple of weeks of dates in Japan and China and Taiwan. Yeah.
Now, what was the response to the new music at the CD release party?
It was great. I got to say, the last 2 CDs we've released, we've done it at the Granada, so it's been a good testing ground for us, and it's it's handy to have a hometown crowd that I kind of feel is going to love us no matter what. But it's new music, and the way we approached it was we played all 10 songs in the order that they are on the record live for the first time. I mean, some of the songs we have been playing live in our set, but this is the first time as a collection.
Right.
And the response was great, but you're, as the artist and performer, you can be a little insecure about it, It's like, that didn't get as much of a response as I thought, and then something's got more of a response. So you can't, it's always hard to gauge, how people are going to react. But the overall scope of the record, I think, was received amazingly well. And then of course, we hit him with some of the old tunes. And the older stuff tends to be a bit more high energy and more rock and roll. So it's a nice build throughout the show. Now the rest of the tour, we're not going to play the record quite like that. We're going to sprinkle it in with the other tunes from our past catalog. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Oh no, thank you, Chris. I hope you can make it to the show or.
Absolutely. I'm going to try to get out to the Rabbit Hole Saturday night and
the Rabbit Hole. That sounds like a sweet place to be. Yeah, it's okay. Have you been to the Rabbit Hole?
I have been to the Rabbit Hole. It's an intimate little club. I'm not sure if sweet describes it the best, but the name is nonetheless interesting. That's for sure.
The name it's a good. I'll just keep it as a good name. Yeah. No, I know we're going to be hitting all shapes and sizes along the road, and for us. We started off playing a place called the Library in Denton, Texas, in 1988, and then we progressed to the Gravity Room. And I assure you that the smaller places we have more fun in. And I got to tour some big arenas over the years with some of the bands I was with, and that's fun, and that's its own kind of thing. But there's nothing like being in a small room and the energy that can be created, and that feedback you have, that immediacy between band and audience. That you can't replicate that in a large place. That intimacy and that energy is lost. So this is what we are from, and we enjoy that very much.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to it. It's my favorite places to see a show are the smaller clubs. So best of luck with that. I think it's going to be fantastic. The new record is really, really nice.
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate you checking it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Chris. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you soon.